You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the March 27th, 2024 meeting of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. We're going to start the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission meeting for Wednesday, March 27th at 4 p.m. To call it to order. If everybody please stand for the pledge. Mr. Parkman.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mary Jane.
Adam Karonka,
Present.
Michael Rosenbaum,
Present.
Scott Cooley,
Here.
Tom Fath, Randy Novak,
Present.
Mark Parkman,
Present.
Rich Mrzinski,
Here.
Jennifer Farley.
Present.
Mr. President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Approval of tonight's agenda
Motion to approve?
with the following changes.
I didn't know, so whatever following changes. I'm sorry.
We're going to remove from on the back under the claims docket at our attorney's recommendation, US 421 number 1 D&M in the amount of $425. And then we're also going to take it off down below under 421 project claims in the amount of $125,000.
Do we want to take that all the way off or just reduce it?
All the way.
Okay.
Do you have the math? I don't have the math.
Give me a moment, I'll have it, okay?
How much is it going to cost if there's additional monies that need to be spent for the rebuilds, for the rebuilt plans that Michigan City is
There's
going to
an
require for the
issue right
transfer of
now
easements? What's that going to cost?
With the
Okay,
transfer.
I thought
What
you-
about,
I thought when we pulled out these numbers, you wanted to know enough.
do we know about any, that all the liens have been paid, that all the
part I
subcontractors
can't
have been paid? Without information like that, I just can't give you a number. I don't know if it's $5,000
done
or
that.
$95,000.
So
Fair enough.
is that a motion to approve?
Yeah, motion to approve with those changes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Public comment is now open. Anybody from the public would like to speak? Anybody on Zoom? Hearing none, public comment is now closed. Approval of the last minutes.
Motion to approve is presented. Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Communications?
Communications for the month of February, March. Auditor's Office for the Treasurer's Report to prepare the automated POs, to pick up mail, and to deliver the signed February POs. Herald Argus, legal notice publication for March 24 claims, distributed March 24 agenda to the media. NIPSCO invoices from building maintenance. We're getting invoices for something else, so we're giving them to Mitch, the ones that aren't ours. Discussions back and forth regarding the utilities on whether or not the requirements were wet to pay D&M. And then sender annual report, gathering all the documents so that sender can prepare it. And then sender and Barnes and Thornburg were the Great Lakes capital documents, which you will discuss tonight. End of communications.
What's your pleasure? Oh, that was communications. I'm sorry. Moving on to Treasurer's Report.
The Treasurer's Report is as follows. US 421, TIF number 1, $276,631. US 421, TIF number 2, 0. KIDC TIF, $91,125. 39 North, TIF, $99,000. End of Treasurer's Report.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Moving on to the claims on the back of your first page there. First one is the KIDC for MC Partners in the amount of $3,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Rich, seconded by Mr. Parkman. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next one is the 421, number 1 TIF. Claims after we took off the D&M totaled $2,105.03.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next one is 39 North. We have MCR Partners in the amount of 1,000 and Guy DiMartino in the amount for February legal services, the amount of 1,500 for a total of 2,500.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. That, with the other 421 claim being removed, that completes our claims. Moving on to old business. 421 I-94 update, Matt Reardon.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think we covered the build side of the 42194 with the D&M activity. We just need to make sure that everything's done and completed before we're ready to release the funds. Just want to make sure it's done. We're dealing with different utilities that aren't ours. They have specifications that they want to see. We're just going to make sure they're done that way. And I agree with our attorney that we should wait till they're done and finished.
Yep.
And then we'll be happy to release it. For a project of that size and scope, $150,000 is fairly de minimis in the scale of things. So,
Any updates on the motel?
no, sir.
And you, Great
cover
Lakes
that.
Capital's loiter in the,
Yeah, we'll
Right.
cover that in
right.
in a few minutes.
Next item is KIP.
KP, I was out there, let's see, another site visit last week, and pretty significant user, different type of use, investment of only like 300 million, not related to ag, or related to other things. Continue to get a lot of positive traction there. With the close of the legislative session and the law that they changed, any foreign adversary or whoever's on the list can no longer purchase or lease farmland July 1st, 2024. So what did that mean to this county in particular? The previous negotiations with a pretty substantive investment in a corn mill will be illegal July 1, 2024. And we've instructed, I've discussed with my colleagues and our team that any verify all leads that are coming in now or that we have in the past. After this meeting next week, we'll notify those other entities. Those entities were related to the battery manufacturing process, and let them know they have till July 1 to buy land or enter into a lease according to the current law, but that doesn't guarantee anything beyond that. It doesn't guarantee permits. It doesn't guarantee any of that. So it creates quite a risk. With that being said, we're going to put, Mitch is helping me on this, put together an RFQ to do the easements for the roads. We're going to just do it. Whether the ready money comes in or not, it still needs to be done. That way we can have the information and go through a very similar process that NDOT does when, the similar process that this body did when you did the utility expansions. You have the property identified, you do the survey for the property, you notify the property owner of the request for a donation and move forward. The only question to this body will be at the appointed time, what happens if somebody doesn't want to donate that easement? I don't think we need to own the property. I just think we need a general utility easement that would allow for paving, rebuilding, and installation of utilities, including rail track when possible. The other update in Kingsbury is probably, I think when it gets a little bit nicer out, Mr. Carroll is going to host a rail party, whatever that's going to look like, a barbecue, because the completion of CSX connection, so give yourselves a hand, that's that's been done. So it's kind of a big deal to get that accomplished. And he wants to have everybody out there to see and to look at it and to, thank the county for the hard work in the park and continued due diligence on it. So just letting you know about that.
Where we at
And
where we at with the CN?
he's not coming up here. Ed Limborg continues with the project, and we know the sticking point is a property owner. I know they've been negotiating between themselves about how to satisfy that without getting the county involved and then having to request to go through the condemnation proceedings. That was very costly. There's hopefully a better way to get this done that can serve that particular property. I'm just kind of hoping the private sector works that out amongst themselves, and if it gets to a point where it can't be, then the governmental agencies would get engaged in that discussion. It's a public use. There's no dispute about that. We would go through that process, and I'm sure Mr. Martino can add to that as necessary. But you get back into the same thing: 2 appraisals, contact property owner, offer the money. They say yes or no, and you go from there. Hopefully that doesn't occur with this, but that's the last piece in the way. I must forgot, which I shouldn't have. JBC is continuing to build the rail. So this is not for decision today, but a request was made by JBC about the potential for being reimbursed for some of their expenses for extending the rail from their property to the bridge or on the bridge. And at first blush, I was like, I don't know if that sounds like something we'd be interested in. But after thinking a little bit further about it, that's exactly how utilities operate. They're happy to do it as long as you reimburse them. So think about NIPSCO, how they do things. They're like, oh yeah, well, happy to run whatever to you, but you got to rebate us for the cost. So I'd like to have a little further discussion with JBC on that cost and what it looks like. Is it $1 million, $2 million? My thought is if this process is driving car traffic, which it would, in theory, then perhaps a discount on the fee that they would owe us is a reimbursement as an option. But I just wanted to bring it up. That was brought to my attention, and a request was made by them. And just to let you know, I'll be talking with them and to see what they had in mind. I'm going to take a guess here, and they probably had in mind, please give us all the money back, which is really not going to happen.
Isn't that going to trigger Limborg to say,
well, you would
where's
think
my
that.
money for the rail?
Yes, indeed it might, but Mr. Limburg also received a tax abatement for his improvements not too long ago, and the county did waive the fee for that. So there's no way to connect the park. I think, and I'm not going to speak for Limburg's, but I believe that they need to have that trackage to do the business that they're doing, whereas anything beyond JBC's door that has, it allows... it's not directly related to their business activity. It is some, don't get me wrong. They're not doing this out of the kindness of their heart. They're capitalists, so that's okay. But yes, that's and I would probably do the same if I was Limburg. So
I thought from previous meetings, they were talking about putting the track in if we got the bridge covered.
yeah,
That was like our part
that's
of the
exactly what was discussed, correct. And I'm just bringing it up to the board and just seeing where you stand with that. I'll probably come back at the next meeting with maybe some more discussion and maybe some numbers about what they think, and we can talk about it a little bit more.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
39 North?
39 North, as I understand it, is complete, the annexation. So I met with Mr. Cook regarding the status of 39 North and what to do. Had conversation with our financial advisor, who is running a little bit late, so Carl
It's
will
right
be here.
behind you.
I told Carl I had to filibuster a little bit. I'm like, I got it. So what we thought would be the best pathway forward would be to transition the TIF from the county to the city. That way they don't have to reset the base year, and they would just then continue. So we would stop getting revenue from 39, but Mr. Chairman, you pointed out, what do we do next? Like, what's the next step? So that's really what we focused on. And they're going to get me over their map, and then so that we know how many EDUs that are going to be created by their expansion, so that the thought is we do the next one that goes between their border and 20 and be able to continue, the development of utilities along 20 so that you can get different kinds of growth and maybe a little bit more density in the business types, and to kind of clean up maybe the corner of 39 and 20 and give some more opportunity for different and better things that could go there. So they were on board with that kind of concept.
Great. Thank you. 3594.
I had a great meeting with the mayor. She's all for the project. Happy that this organization is considered funding extending utilities. Appreciates the generosity of the county council. Looking forward to development along the corridor.
That's great.
Yes. Yes, sir. That is only one voice.
Okay.
Correct. But it's better than the other voice we heard, which was, we're not doing anything and you're not either.
Yeah.
So we're making some progress. What the mayor mentioned was that they have an ordinance in place that talks about the requirements to sign a waiver related to the utilities. That was never an issue.
That's been in place for 15
Correct.
years.
Correct. Yes, she said we have an ordinance in place that speaks to that. We intend to follow it. So seems like the impediment to development opportunity has gone by the wayside. And I will re-engage the discussion with the HWC about the utilities, and then of course circle back with Mr. Patrick and see where he's at with the project. I would be more confident if he's confident about the new opportunities in Michigan City, but I'll leave that up to him and our discussions to see where he's at with it before I would initiate any kind of additional design or utility expansion with that.
Thank you.
Back to 39 North, with the improvements that the city is going to do there for water and sewer, does that give enough capacity to continue on north, or does that need to be figured in?
Well, that's according to the to Bert. The mayor's directive to the utility was to don't undersize this, so we're limiting ourselves into the future. So that's why my question back to Bert and the planner, which I can't remember his name, Craig, was like, you tell me you guys are building excess capacity here.
Craig Phillips.
They said, yeah, Craig Phillips. And he said they are, but I just want him to quantify it before we would, I come back to this board and recommend that we do another TIF area, because if we end up right back in the same place that, oh, gee whiz, now we need this and that, or, no. I mean, the idea here with any expansion would be, we're just running the utility lines further because they have the capacity to have more customers. We're not going to build a water tower. We're not in that business. We're an extended pipe to allow for development opportunities. That's it. So they seem pretty amenable to that. But I'll get that quantified, and then just so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot.
Thank you.
Thank you. New business? TIF annual report?
Mr. Sender, you're up.
Good afternoon, members of the commission.
Good afternoon.
For some of you, this is a repeat from Monday night. A new law has been passed that requires not only your body to hear and receive a copy of the TIF annual report, but also the legislative body. And so Mr. Novak was kind enough to get us on the agenda Monday, and so we did a kind of a preview of the report with the county council, and so the same report you have before you. This body has always had to, you do not have it,
Adam brought his, but they didn't,
Oh,
we don't have,
We didn't print them.
oh,
We
okay.
got them digitally.
good news is you only need 3 copies.
Okay. My apologies, I should have brought, I assumed that you already had them in your packet.
We're
but-
going to pass Adams around, and he's
Okay.
pulling it up online, so.
I'm just going to highlight quickly again, kind of the contents of the report, and then be available to ask any questions. The purpose of the report is basically to provide the fiscal activities of the Redevelopment Commission for the last year. We list who the members are, cash balances, revenues, expenditures, your outstanding obligations, and then finally a list of all the parcels that are in your various allocation areas. So page 3 just lists your current members here for this year. Page 4 is the distribution of the tax increment for 2023. We collect our tax increment twice a year from the county tax system, distribution of taxes. In June, we collected $355,537.75. November distributions were $254,423.53 for a total of $609,969.28, and that's for the 4 existing allocation areas. There was no increment from the I-94 US 35, as there's not been any new development. Pages 6 through 7 is your outstanding obligations. As you recall, a couple years ago, back in 2022, we issued bonds for the water sewer project on 400 North and along 421. And presently, we have outstanding $4,447,000 as of the
Just
end
a
of
point of, great, that's 300 North. in
I'm
420.
sorry, 300.
okay.
Sorry.
People listening out there.
Yep.
I gotta, like,
Oh, nope, 300 North. You're right.
get excited.
All right. And then several years ago, the commission had also received some funds from the major moves in order to do projects at Kingsbury and also some improvements along the I-94 421, and those obligations are still outstanding. And then the fund balances on page 8, I'll just highlight in total. At the beginning of January 1st, 2023, we had $906,358.65. Total revenues for the year were $706,386.23. Total disbursements $941,575.88. Ending cash balance $671,169. Then page 9 just summarizes the resolutions that were approved last year. We had 2. And then on the next section, which isn't maybe necessarily officially a part of the annual report, but kind of to tackle the next item, is we're to provide some available information to the affected overlapping taxing units. And so our practice has been to do it at the same time we present the annual report and have it all that information for you as well. So basically, what we're required to do is to provide a copy of the budget for the allocation areas, summarize a little bit the long-term plans, and the tax impact on each of the taxing units. I think, as all of you know, that the purposes of the allocation areas is in order to generate revenue to further redevelopment, economic development in the county. And that's what we've done with the existing 4 allocation areas. And so the tax increment we're collecting has enabled us to kind of further those goals. And so that's really, in a nutshell, the purpose of what you're all charged to do. Page 13, we've put together a brief budget for each of the allocation areas for 2024. For allocation area number 1, we have total planned expenditures of $289,300. Allocation area number 2, which is part of the I-94 421, $221,029. Area number 3, KIP, is $197,000, and area number 4, 39 North, is $125,700. The next section, we're required to kind of provide what is the tax impact on each of the affected taxing units. And so that's what we've tried to do. We say, all right, here's what the captured assessed value as of January 1, 2023 for payable 2024. If we did not capture this, what would have been the impact on the tax rates? You can see for each of them on pages 14, 15, well, all the way for the next several. So, for example, 39 North, if we had not had the allocation area, it would have been a 14-cent reduction. And then we show the impact on the county's cumulative capital fund, the Center Township cumulative fire fund. They're pretty small impacts, so they're not really major. Page 16 shows the impact if we didn't have Kingsbury, which is about 15 cents. And then pages 17 show, again, the impact of the cum funds, pretty minor. Page 18, I-94, 421 area number 1, the impact is less than a penny, so 0.0075 cents. Page 20 for allocation area number 2, it's 0.0068, so again, less than a penny.
It's fair to say if we didn't have those TIFs that we might not have had that business though either, right?
That is true. I was going to point that out, so thank you. Yeah, a good argument could say if it weren't for the economic development activities and having the allocation areas, a number of these businesses would not have located here in the allocation area. So it's not, because we're required to show the tax impact, that's not really necessarily the true impact because we may not have had that growth at all. So point in case would be like the Love's truck stop. That was specifically because we did the water sewer improvements that they were able to come here. So, and then the final piece is a number of pages in your packet that show all the parcels for each of the allocation areas. It also has subtotals, what the captured assessment is. Not all of this report gets uploaded into the Department of Local Government Finance Gateway, but all the parcel data will, so that that becomes part of the public record. So I'm happy to answer any questions you may have on the annual report, and if not, I would ask that maybe you have a consideration to accept the report.
Is there any questions before we? What's your pleasure?
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, I do want to make a quick comment. For a brand-new report, this was easy to read, for whether you are familiar with finances or not. So I appreciated the simplicity, even though it's not simple.
That's right.
But being able to just lay it out in multiple pages where you're not trying to get too many concepts at once. And so for a first-time report, I wanted to say thank you. And from a professional level, it was nice to see something clean.
All right. Appreciate that. I think one of the councilmen did ask that the report be uploaded onto your website, the Redevelopment Commission's website. So,
Consider
okay.
it done.
All right, great. I think I have item number 2.
Thank
also.
you. Consideration of resolution of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission concerning the 2025 budget year, determination of tax increment for the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission allocation areas. Carl.
Yep. So each year we have to take a look and say, hey, do we need all of the captured increment we need to do the operations of the Redevelopment Commission? And we're required by June 15th of each year to notify the county auditor, is there any incremental AV that can be released? And based on looking at your budget, the amount of obligations that you have and the charges that you have before you, we've determined that there is no parcel or no amount that can be released. And so this resolution just affirms that, and then there'll be, I think Mary Jane will give Mr. Novak a letter for you to sign addressed to the county auditor to officially notify him of that. So this just basically says we need to capture all the increment for 2025. And again, for simplicity, we decided to do it all at the same meeting as presenting the annual report.
Do we need to take action on that?
Do you have it?
Pardon?
You have the resolution?
I do have extra
Yep.
copies. So,
Make a motion?
So is there a motion to read by title only
Yes,
first?
yeah, same. Yep.
Second.
Motion to read by title only. Is there a second?
It was, then.
Second, all right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, title only, please.
Can you read it by title only?
I'll do it, I don't care.
I got it.
Resolution number 2024-001, resolution of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission concerning the 2025 budget year determination for tax increment for the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission allocation areas.
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Parkman. Any,
I do have a quick, does this have to be, this can be
No.
done in one reading?
resolution.
So, I just confirming,
Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank
all
you.
right.
So remember, there were some discussions regarding monies and who's going to handle it. This resolution, the report that Mr. Sender put forward, and the information that we did at the beginning of the year is all the information that is needed when you are having those discussions with the auditor's office as to who's to control or who's to appropriate
Great.
monies. Okay, so
Thank you.
these meet all those requirements.
Okay. Referring to the point where we're trying to appropriate.
Correct.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. Next item is Great Lakes Capital Bond update. Matt?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Had a conversation with the people from Great Lakes Capital, still moving forward with the project. And really, the update is, for your consideration today, is the resolution that would create another allocation area. So the best way is, I noted to explain it, is it's another circle inside the circle at 421 and 94. The particular project is related to a parcel, not multiple parcels, and it's the finances are driven solely by the actions of the private sector entity. In this case, it's Great Lakes Capital. And this is the first step in a multi-step process. We'll be back in either next month or the following month once the resolutions have done their lap for a confirmatory resolution for the project. This is the financing enabling legislation that allows TIFs to be funded, because you can create a allocation area, you can create a redevelopment project area, but if you don't enact the allocation provision, you don't collect any money. So this is for specifically that particular project, not like the bigger 421-94 TIF. This is just for that. So the resources and the new increment generated by that build pays this debt, not the bigger TIF. Furthermore, the Redevelopment Commission nor the council or commissioners will have any obligation with regard to the debt. They'd be purchased by Great Lakes Capital. They understand the process. They understand that there's no repayment if there's no building, and so on and so forth. And so you have in your packet consideration of resolution, the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission approving amendments to the declaratory resolution and the economic development plan for I-94/421 route economic development area for the purposes of establishing a new allocation area and related matters. So whenever you amend these, you don't create a new, you just amend them. There was a plan done several years ago. You keep amending the plan, and that's why it's referenced in the resolution. Carl, did I miss anything? Got it all covered.
And just for clarification, this, creating this district in a district
Yes.
has no effect on the current bond payment that we're making?
No, sir.
Because it's vacant land, there's no.
Correct.
It's not generating anything anyway.
Correct. So the
Currently.
previous bonds were sold based on the economics of the time, but go ahead, Carl.
Part of why it's amending the previous declaratory is we're pulling out that parcel.
We're capturing it.
Right, and so we're going to set it in its own new allocation area, so
Right.
that's what this is doing.
Great. All right. So we need to approve the amendments.
You have a resolution. Mary Jane, do you have that?
Well,
They have
first,
I do have a quick question. So we already have financing on this district. Right. And I'm apologize if I'm repeating what you just said. And so therefore, we can now still siphon off a piece?
this is not generating any income.
Currently, it's vacant land, so,
That-
right.
And that was what I wanted to hear, and if you said it before, I do apologize.
That's okay.
The chair will entertain a motion to read this by title only.
Make a motion to read by title only?
Just for clarification, I don't have the resolution in front of me, so. The one, so she's, okay, she's got it there. All right. So by title only, Mr. Rosenbaum?
Yes, please.
And second? Second. Mr. Karanka? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Mary Jane?
Resolution number 2024-002. Resolution of the LaPorte County Redevelopment Commission approving amendments to the declaratory resolution and the economic development plan for the I-94 US Route 421 Economic Development Area for the purpose of establishing a new allocation area and related matters. End of resolution title.
Thank you. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve?
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum,
Second.
second by Mr. Karanka. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
So I have, Mr.
Other
Chairman.
business? None? Do you want to give a quick update on the very productive meeting that we had in New Carlisle?
Oh, sure. So we, a handful of us made the trip down to New Carlisle and to have a discussion with some of their elected officials and the New Prairie schools about what's happening in their area and the impacts. So Mr. Rosenbaum and Mr. Novak came with me and Mitch to see what they were, see what our neighbors are doing. And outside of disturbing 6,000 acres of farmland, they're planning for a 1.5 million square foot production facility for batteries and 2 million square feet of data center by there. So what the members may or may not know is that a point in time that county made a decision to develop a coal or a gas-fired power plant there. And lo and behold, people who need power find where the power plants are, and that's what's happening in New Carlisle. So with a little bit of modicum of jealousy at their ability to attract that level of investment, how it relates to the county is this. There's going to be opportunity for growth and development in and around the border, which was the purpose of the visit. And we had a lengthy discussion about housing and residential housing and the need of what happens when your employment base gets increased by 4,000 people over, let's say the next 10 years as their jobs are projected. Most of those are related to the battery facility. The data centers have a handful of employees, but the opportunity lies with the ability to have some responsible growth and development in residential housing. Now, New Carlisle had some parts that were developed, and they're in the county, and a lot of this project is in St. Joe County. And boy, they didn't have any problem running water and sewer out there everywhere. And they've created some parcel territories for residential housing, but they recognize that they do not have enough. And It relates to a lot of situations, from housing to public safety to fire protection specifically. You know, they're kind of concerned. They're like, what's going to happen when this happens? So we appreciate the outreach, and we will, we scheduled a bi-monthly meeting cycle with that group to talk more about it and how we can work on our end as they're working on their end. I think it's good that St. Joe County reached out about that, and the folks at New Carlisle. You know, we were kind of focusing on the same type of development approach, which had to do with responsible development that includes water and sanitary. That was the target. You know, St. Joe County has expended a lot of millions to do that, to activate those parcels, not dissimilar to what this county does with the resources you have available. You know, the state of Indiana came in with some pretty good-sized chunks of cash to kickstart some of those projects down there, and you know, that's all good things for LaPorte County. We're going to stay close to the New Prairie schools. You know, we build a bunch of houses, people got to go to school. We build a bunch of houses and the school doesn't have adequate capacity, then what are we doing? So we're trying to be deliberate about that thought process and keeping the schools in the loop. When you think about it, you add, not every person would be new to the area, right? But if you add 4,000 employees, it'd be nice to have them spend money and live in the communities and do all that. So we're going to stay in close contact with them about the project. Very fascinating, I thought.
I just want to add that what a great. How many miles do you think they ran that sewer out of South Bend?
Oh.
So the sewers, you talk about collaboration in cities being willing to extend their services outside the city limits. The sewers that feed this plant now,
Yeah.
this area, go to South Bend,
Yeah.
and the water comes out of New Carlisle.
Yes.
So they're working together. They're building a new water
Is it
plant.
15 miles from New Carlisle to South Bend?
Yeah,
So I mean it. Right.
That was the power plant.
It's just amazing what they're willing to do, the mayors of those municipalities. So I think it's some of our elected officials and previous elected officials should pay attention.
I agree. Like I said, they're ripping up 6,000 acres of farmland and
Right.
putting water and sewer in and running power lines, and got a bunch of.
To show the magnitude, they're vacating county roads because they're in the middle of the plant.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just
Yeah, so think about vacating
massive.
first through fifth line, and that being a build parcel.
Right.
I mean, if you're
many
not in the
acres are they-
building, hey,
how
I
many
can say
acres?
this, if you're not in the building trades now, you probably should sign up.
Right.
Because, you know, we were talking about the impact of the build when that starts, and I just said, boy, you guys don't, I mean, you don't have any idea what's gonna happen down here.
They're currently running the sewer lines for the water lines for the GM plant.
Yeah, temporarily,
And
just temporary lines.
but the data centers, they're leveling ground. They have
Yeah.
four excavating companies working on one site that's that big. And one can,
So I suggested that they call the Whiting mayor and ask him what happened, or the Hammond mayor. Hey, what happened when 10,000 workers were in your community for 2 years or 3 years? Because that's what's going to happen.
right,
So,
definitely.
you know, people come to work, they work there. Why not be able to market the wares of this county and have, you know, residential development opportunities there to do it? It would be silly not to.
So on the other side of that, right, so you're talking about residential growth as a result of industrial development. Now let's talk about additional second-tier industrial development, right? So is there any possibility that we can be part of the communication with the battery plant in terms of what they need for suppliers? Because we're logistically,
well, I think one of the ones out of KIP was going to supply materials for that. But they're
Two of them.
they're-
But yes, we will stay in touch wherever they may be getting their raw materials from, wherever they think that's going to happen.
I mean, if just as I think about it, right, you start talking about metal stamping, you start talking
Think
plastic
about it.
injection, you talk all the things that we don't have a lot of
Nope.
in LaPorte County.
No.
I mean, you got, was it R&R Plastics down there? That's not real big. I mean, it gives them an opportunity to to grow if he wants to try.
Well, you know, what we have is plus or minus 700 acres of marketable property zone M2 heavy industrial for those people to land in without having to go through the exercise of getting farmland rezoned to manufacturing or buying off a piece of property that's owned by a corporate entity, whether it's the data center people or GM. So it makes it easier. But good suggestion. We will continue. Maybe we'll find the right flavor of company to do it.
The other thing that comes with it, and we heard about it with the corn mill, was the water supply the water and sewer supply that we have in KIP. Will it be enough capacity for said suppliers if we're,
You know, it
gaining
depends
ground?
on, honestly, Commissioner, it depends on what it is. We could put a data center out there, no problem, probably. Distribution center, no big deal. But KIP is not an industrial wastewater treatment operation. I mean, it's just not what it was. So there's significant opportunity there, but it's going to require a pretty significant investment to upgrade it to get to where you're engaged in some discussions with food processor or any heavy water user. I mean, it's just hard. And then it wasn't built to be an industrial wastewater utility. I mean, it's just hard.
The conversations, they're not opposed to increase, but they need somebody coming in to trigger.
Yeah, we can't. I mean, just like the TIF we were just talking about. And I've talked with, Jeff a million times. I can't do anything until somebody does something. I don't have increment available to pledge back to the extension or expansion of utilities. The fact that you're a private for-profit utility doesn't preclude the county from financially participating in what happens. They're not like the city. It's nonprofit, it's for-profit. So, but there's no prohibition for us using TIF money to do that. We would need to. I mean that's part of project growth and development.
Well, it falls in the same lines of what we're talking about with the request for quote on the roads.
Yep. Yeah, and speaking, I almost forgot about this, and I'll stop after this. So there were a couple of requests for additional secondary access out of Kingsbury. There was somebody who was upset because the Hupp Road was blocked for an undetermined amount of time. While I thought to myself, probably drive on one of those roads, go to Central and get to First and get around it as an option. But it did make me think about what about alternative locations. So Mike O is going to give me a map. I know there's a couple of other ingress and egress points. I mean, we're going to identify them. I don't want to cause another problem on the other side of the ingress and egress either. But the common complaint I get from some of the businesses in Kingsbury is that the farmers are tearing up our roads and they don't fix them. And I said, they're not. Whose roads are they? They happen to be yours because they're in front of your place. So to be able to get some semblance of identification, ownership, and then to move forward and to continue, despite a lot of contrarians, to get that into a more viable business park. Makes it more attractive.
Definitely.
Okay, so we're getting some of our leads from the state.
Yes, sir.
St. Joe County, you had just mentioned a little while ago, maybe about 14 breaths ago, just joking, sorry, that they got a lot of state money. So I think we need to start communicating with the state that we want to start, that we need to start doing this. If you build it, they will come. Well, we need to, as they're giving us the leads, we also need to engage them to also help supply the money so that we're not just having to take it on the chin just by this county.
Maybe we need to identify those as ready grant, other
Well, we did have
projects
some ready
down
grant,
there.
and the state did give us $1 million, and we did get $600,000. However, we've not had a project that was going to close at this location. So they went forward. The state went forward with their strategic sites initiative. This is on the list, right? And I think the opportunity with the state lies when we have a transaction. But I do think it's smart, and your recommendation is good, that we continue to reach out to St. Joe County with the message that's this. We have property that's zoned M2 industrial. You don't have to tear up farmland over there. Send them our way. Because it is. And it's a lot of it, and there isn't a lot of that around. You have to go through a challenging process to get anything rezoned. And now with the state's push to do farmland preservation, it's going to make it even more challenging. So I think that we got to capitalize on the message the state is putting out, which is don't build anything on farmland and put it in an industrial park. So we're going to really toot that horn.
To say New Carlisle's a little overwhelmed is an understatement there.
Let's be
they're-
nice.
they-
I mean, it's a
huge project.
Yeah, it's enormous. Well, you think about Whiting. Whiting's like 4,000 people. New Carlisle's like 2,000 people, right? Whiting is 1/100th of the footprint that New Carlisle is. So it's the inverse. I'm like, better watch out. You're going to have trailer parks popping up here left and right with people working on the project. Well, think about that. 10,000 people every day. They got to eat somewhere.
It's another good reason to have that expansion in our campground down out at the fairgrounds.
Oh, man.
We
I heard the
discussed that.
spaces are going for $2,000 a month. Is that true?
Well, we just upped it a little bit. so,
2,800, 3,200.
All right.
Anyway, thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you.
Is that a motion to adjourn, Mr. Berkman?
It was.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
They said anything all. That's right.